Good morning. It's Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake, here with DFSArmy for another NBA First Look podcast for Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. And we got a monster 10-game slate on our hands. As always, I'll be using DraftKings as our backdrop. I'll go through injury news, game by game. Just kind of talk about some plays. I'll also talk about FanDuel pricing as well, if there's any outliers is there. But I'll use DraftKings and build a little sample lineup. If you like this format, you want me to continue to do this format, hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you know when I post these. If there's a different way you want me to do these NBA First Look podcast, leave a comment. Let me know if there's something you would like me to add or do different. I want to bring value to you guys, and so I'd like to hear your feedback on these. But with that, let's dive right into this and see what we have on tap for today. Again, monster 10-game slate here. First game on tap is Philly at Charlotte. We don't have a total in this game yet. Joel Embiid looks like he is probable. And on the Charlotte side, Terry Rozier is questionable and PJ Washington is out here. So we'll start on the Philly side with Embiid probable. We got the whole show of characters here. Embiid should just smash in this lineup against Cody Zeller. It shouldn't be too big of a feat for him to do some damage here. But do I really want to play Embiid on a slate this large? Generally, no. I don't ever like to play him. But again, it's a great matchup against Charlotte. He should be able to do whatever he wants to. But at 10K, with all of them healthy, I don't think that you need to go there. But again, he's 10K on DraftKings, 10-2 on FanDuel. Squarely in play. Great matchup. Charlotte's horrible. They don't have PJ Washington either, so they just basically got Zeller down there. So no problem playing him. And I can't play Simmons or Tobias Harris, again, with this team fully healthy. Again, I think this is not with all these guys healthy, if you want to take a stab at Embiid, that's about it for me. Seth Curry's 4,600 on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, he is priced at 4,400, so he's always an interesting tournament play at that price. But again, with this team fully healthy, Ben Simmons at 8-2 on DraftKings, 8,700 on FanDuel is a fade for me. 7,300 on DraftKings for Tobias Harris, 7,500 on FanDuel. Yet again, maybe on FanDuel a small forward because you got to play two of them, but someone that I'm not super excited about. So on a 10-game slate, not too pumped to play any of these guys. Let's go look on the Charlotte side where we do have a little bit of injury news. If Rozier sits again, we're probably going to see a whole lot of LaMelo Ball again. LaMelo is 7K on DraftKings now. Still just 6-6 on FanDuel. So if Rozier doesn't play, I think you could look at him on FanDuel for sure. He's going to play mega minutes here. He did the last game. He played 31 minutes, put up 30 fantasy points. Wasn't foul trouble that game, which kind of hurt him. And only shot 28% from the field, which again, kind of hurt him as well. But maybe people won't go back to him. But if you see the game before, he's got 53 fantasy points. He's got massive upside here. So we need the news on Rozier to play him at that price. Like I can't play him unless Rozier's out. On FanDuel, maybe you could take a chance at 6,600 regardless. But I don't think he's going to sniff 30 minutes if Rozier's back. So we'd have to really watch that. Devontae Graham, 6,600 on DraftKings, 6,100 on FanDuel. I don't think I can go there. Gordon Hayward, though, is pretty cheap on both sites. We're talking 7,200 on DraftKings, 7,400 on FanDuel. I think that's a great price for him. Matchup is not great at all against Philly, but the guy that's gonna lead the team in usage. He plays the most minutes on the team. A few more shots with no Washington there. He's a guy you can look at, but again, horrible matchup against Philly, but a very cheap tag on DraftKings here and FanDuel, so you can consider him. I'm gonna throw him in this small forward lineup as we go through things. He might be coming out later, but we'll throw him in here just a price because that is just too cheap for him. So we'll sit there on him. But really, Cody Zeller, 5,800. He was 5,200 last time, so they're starting to slowly price him up. 5,500 on FanDuel is way too cheap again. I think he's just going to get more rebounds with no Washington there. Put you up 19 and 12 against Miami and 44 fantasy points. Just look at his last four, 44, 37, 24, 37, 39 minutes against Miami there. We should probably see, probably low to mid 30s, 1.12 fantasy points for the season. I'm going to throw him in this lineup as well. It's a horrible matchup against Embiid. Let me just start with that right away. One guy that we have to talk about, though, if we do get Rozier out, is we have to talk about Malik Monk. 4K on DraftKings, 4,700 on FanDuel. He shot out of his mind, 9 for 13, played 40 minutes, put up 48 fantasy points. He is going to be squarely in play, a guy you're going to want to put in your lineups, especially on DraftKings at 4K, if we don't have Terry Rozier. He's not going to see those minutes if Rozier plays, but if Rozier is out, they're going to have to bring a guard off the bench, and with how hot he's been in the shots he's taken over the last 2 games, we have to consider him. So, look for him. Another guy we got to look at is Miles Bridges, 4,600 on DraftKings. 4,200 on FanDuel is way too cheap. I think we're going to see more of him with no PJ Washington here. He could be playing low to mid 30s here. So I think you need to consider him at 4,600 on DraftKings, but FanDuel is way too cheap, 4,200. Again, he's not a massive fantasy point per minute. He's a 0.82 fantasy points per minute for the season, but he's only been averaging about 25 minutes. But we should see into the 30s here, and someone that I think you should look at playing in your lineups, especially on FanDuel. But don't load up on Charlotte against Philly. I'm not saying that, but these guys are all priced a little bit down. I would consider those 3. Again, if Rozier is out, I think Monk is my favorite point per dollar on the team. And then I would look at going to Melo, Hayward, and Zeller. They're all just priced down, and I think a lot of it has to do with just the matchup that they're in. So look at those guys. I'm going to put them in here. I'm leaving Monk out of this lineup just because I don't know about Rozier. But again, Monk would be in my lineup if Rozier was out. Let's move to the next game here. We have Indy at Milwaukee. We have a 232 over under with Milwaukee favored by 8.5. I believe, Indy's on a back-to-back 3 and 4 here. So, they played last night. Again, tough matchup for Indy here in the paint for Sabonis. Sabonis is 8,300 on DraftKings, 8,800 on FanDuel. Milwaukee doesn't give up a lot of points in the paint. On a slate this large, I don't think I'm going to go to Sabonis here. It's basically him, Brogdon, and Lamb that kind of run this team right now. So the minutes are going to be massive if you want to play, him 1.18 fantasy points per minute, averaging 37 minutes. Him and Brogdon both are about identical in those stats and usage. They just basically do everything for the team. Brogdon, 8,400 on FanDuel, 8,100 on DraftKings. I think if I'm going to take a chance on guys, it's going to be Brogdon and Jeremy Lamb. Jeremy Lamb, 5,700 on DraftKings, 5,300 on FanDuel. Love that price on FanDuel. You beat Milwaukee by shooting threes. So I want guys like Lamb. 27 minutes last night, 33 fantasy points. I still think there's a little meat left on the bone for Lamb. And like I've said in the past few videos, I like him on DraftKings because you can put him in the small forward position, which is always a hard position to fill sometimes when you're filling out lineups. So Jeremy Lamb is probably my favorite, then Brogdon, and then Sabonis. And I'm not really looking at a whole lot of Sabonis here just because of that matchup. I don't think I want to focus on these other guys. Justin Holiday's overpriced at 5,100 on DraftKings. 4,600 on FanDuel. He's still playing mid-30s minutes. So his fantasy points have went down a lot since Lamb has come back because the shots aren't there. If you see 6, 7, and 8 shots, he's not having the double-digit shots anymore. So it's going to be hard for me to take him against Milwaukee. So I think it's just Lamb for me. On the Milwaukee side, again, same cast of characters. You got your big 3 here, Giannis, Drew, and Middleton here. Giannis is 11-2 on FanDuel, 11K on DraftKings. Again, I don't know if I want to play any of these guys, but Giannis is always going to be in play. Middleton at 7,900 on FanDuel, 8,200 on DraftKings. We'll have to check out the props on these guys. Middleton's prop on assist has always been pretty low. If you follow the props last night, we did pretty well. Went 3-0, up 22 units over the last 8 days. So watch out for that video. Been pretty good hot streak on those things. Drew, 7,800 on FanDuel, overpriced, 7,700 on DraftKings. I'd just rather play Middleton all day. He seems to be more the facilitator, which has been weird. You know, Drew is the true point guard here, but nowhere I can get really excited. I'll always bring this up. Bobby Portis, 4,700 on FanDuel, 55K on DraftKings. You know, put up 41 fantasy points in 24 minutes against Portland. I mentioned it in that video, and I'll mention it again here. You have to have some Bobby Portis in your tournament lineups because he can do exactly that. And at the price at 5K and at 4,700, you know, he's going to be in some optimals if he puts up 40, and that's what he can do in limited time. You know, I mean, he's a 1.12 fantasy point per minute. It all comes down to minutes with him. So I don't think it's a Bobby Portis game if I had to guess, though. So I felt more comfortable Portland because I thought that they would kind of stick it to him. And they could still do it to Indy here. You know, Indy on a back-to-back 3 and 4, they could have some dead legs and just kind of get there and Milwaukee be more fresh. So I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm not as excited about the play as I was when they were playing Portland. So again, as they're fully healthy, I think I'm looking at Middleton the most, then maybe some Giannis, and then Drew, and then Portis after that. Let's head on over to Dallas at Atlanta. We got a 224 over under with Dallas favored by 2. The big injury news here, looks like DeAndre Hunter is out. That's the big injury news. Dallas's defense has been absolutely horrendous. We get Luka at 10-8 over here on DraftKings. He is priced up to 11.5 on FanDuel. Wow, I don't know if I can pay 11.5 for FanDuel. But again, great matchup against Atlanta. Luka can always put up 70 or 80. I mean, it's insane what that cat can do. But I would much rather play him on DraftKings than I would on FanDuel. Porzingis, 7,500 on FanDuel, 7,500 on DraftKings. You know, his minutes never seem to go over, 33, 34, 1.13 fantasy points for the season. I think it's really fair price for him on FanDuel. I have no problem playing him there. He's probably one of my favorite plays on FanDuel on this team, just at price. I'd rather play him than Luka. On DraftKings, I think he's playable at this price. It's just he hasn't had any monster games. Maybe this is where we see a 50-point spot at him, but I just always have a hard time getting excited to play him. Josh Richardson, he finally came to life last game, 4,500 on DraftKings, 4,900 on FanDuel. Again, he's going to play mid-30s minutes. Played 37, shot 9 for 16 for 40 fantasy points. Maybe he's going to start picking it up and get on a heater, so you better consider him. 4,500 is just too cheap over here. So he's a guy that I think you could slide in again at that forward slot here. I'm going to throw him in this lineup just as we're building things. Let's not throw him in there because it's always harder to fill in the forward slot. So let's put him here. And that's about it for me. With the team fully back, I think it's just Luka and Porzingis, and then I'll look at a little Richardson. Kleba should be back, and again, in the starting lineup, he's 4,100 on FanDuel, 3,700 on DraftKings, 18 minutes, put up 14 fantasy points. He's a guy that's never going to really break a slate, but I'm 3,700 on DraftKings, 4,100 on FanDuel as a power forward. I think you can consider him there. And then Finney Smith, I will mention him just at price, 3,900 on DraftKings, 3,900 on FanDuel. He should play mid-30s minutes as well. 14 fantasy points, 19. But again, Atlanta, pace-up game, that kind of fits his game style a little bit more. So he could be sneaky and get you into the 30 fantasy points, especially on FanDuel at 3,900. Not a massive fantasy point per minute player, but at the same token, on games like this where it can be a little sloppy, maybe on FanDuel he can get you a steal or a block. So I don't mind playing him, And that's about it here. Tim Hardaway Jr., 5,600 on DraftKings, 5,300 on FanDuel. Not really too excited about playing him. Again, with the team fully healthy, it's Luka and Porzingis, and I'm just taking some chances at some cheap guys. I don't want any mid-range guys here. Let's head over to Atlanta side. Trae Young up to 9,500 on DraftKings. He's sitting at 10-4 on FanDuel. Again, not sure I want to go there, but Dallas has been really bad on defense. So maybe we want to take a shot on him. Clint Capella, 8,800 on FanDuel, 8,800 on DraftKings. Again, last two games, 30 minutes each. The minutes aren't like they were on his run where he was putting up, as you can see, 39, 37, 39 minutes, where he's putting up 76, 54. So the minutes have come down a little bit, so it's hard to pay that tag for him. But Dallas is not a good defensive team. So maybe you could take a shot in tournaments, but nobody that I'm like, excited to play. Kevin Huerter at 4,500 on FanDuel, 5,600 on DraftKings. Again, the minutes are going to be there with no Hunter. So I think he's more of a play on FanDuel than DraftKings. I don't like this tag. And generally, big slates like this, where you're talking a 10-game slate, you are generally playing stars and scrubs. So just consider that. And then Cam Reddish should see a lot of minutes, and I like the price tag better on here on DraftKings. And on FanDuel, the same. 4,600 on DraftKings, 4,600 on FanDuel. The minutes should be there against Dallas. So, fantasy points haven't been there over the last few games, but we've seen, stretches where he's put up good fantasy runs. So I will consider him in tournaments for sure. And John Collins, 7,200 on DraftKings, 7,300 on FanDuel. It's one of those guys that I have a hard time playing when Capella's there and when he's at that price point. And on a 10-game slate, I'm just going to pass here, hard pass. So all these guys are basically tournament guys. No one that I'm really loving to shove in a lineup here that I feel like I got to have these guys. But all tournaments, they all have showed their upside in the past. Let's head on over to the Knicks at Chicago. 216 over under. Knicks or Chicago favored by 3. They just played this game a couple games ago with Chicago squeaking one out with them 110 to 102. So again, Julius Randle here, 9,100 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, he is priced at 8,600. Great price for him. Love that price on FanDuel. Again, the injury news, it looks like all we have for the injury news in this game. We know Wendell Carter Jr.'s out, but on the Knicks side, Rivers, Noel are both probable, and so is Porter. So we should have about everybody back but Carter. So Randall, I think, is in play at 9,100 on DraftKings. Put up 50 spot against Chicago here in 39 minutes. Again, they're not a good defensive team. So I can see, Randall coming out and doing something very similar, if not maybe even a little more, and try to get one here. So I don't mind playing Randall at all. I'll throw him in the power forward slot in this lineup here at that price. I think we can get 6x out of him. But love the price over on FanDuel, 8,800. RJ Barrett, 6,400 on DraftKings and FanDuel, same price. 27 he put up last time. Only shot 40% from the field, though. I think you can go back to him here at 6,400. There's meat left on the bone here against Chicago. Again, a bad defensive team. Quickly at 5,500. 34, 36, 37 over his last 3. Again, he's a guy that can get it going in a hurry. 1.08 fantasy points per minute on the season, 27% usage rate. Got a killer floater. I love the kid's game. It was kind of cool to see him kind of play homage to Lou Williams the last time they played, and kind of I went up to him and gave him a handshake, which is kind of cool. I like to see that, man, from the young guys going up to the guys that they watch play, and it's pretty cool. So quickly, again, a guy I think you can play in tournaments, and he's up to a price now where I can't trust that. But if Tibbs is going to start playing him over Elf Payton, I think Elf on the shelf is kind of dead. He's 3,900 on DraftKings, 4,400 on FanDuel, but the minutes 18, 21, 23. He's just not producing, so you can't play him. Seems like Tibbs is going to Quigley more now. So again, tournaments only. I'll look there, but I can't get super excited about it. I think the big one for me is Randall is the cash play. Quickly and Barrett are your tournament plays here. Robinson at 5K on DraftKings, 5,300 on FanDuel. Only saw 20 minutes. Didn't quite get there. It just hasn't been there. It's been the Randall show. So Noel is back, or probable. So Noel, 4,200 on FanDuel, 3,700 on DraftKings. Again, is always interesting in Chicago, especially if he gets into foul trouble, but tournaments only. On a big slate like this, I don't think we got to get too crazy. So to me, just focus on Randall and Barrett, and then quickly in tournaments. On the Chicago side, like I said, Carter Jr. is still out. Zach LaVine, 8,500 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, He is priced at 9K. It seems like they don't get off. Some things on FanDuel, like, they price up. I mean, they price up like Levine, but then there's other cats that they price them at a certain point and then they don't move them. So, I think better play on DraftKings than FanDuel. 34 fantasy points. I think one thing with Levine, though, is with Markkanen back and the shots that he's taken, I think he's hurting Levine's ceiling here. Like, if you look at Markkanen over the last 2 games, 18 and 18 shots. Well, those got to come from somewhere. And I think Levine is being, his upside's being zapped from that. So I'm not going to go to Levine, especially on FanDuel, just because of with Lauri back and then Porter coming back as well. I think I'm just going to lean more on Lauri Markkanen, man. I mean, same matchup. 7,100 on DraftKings, though. I don't think you have to go there. 6,700 on FanDuel. I preferred a little bit over on FanDuel. Thad Young, again, still playing great. 39, 41, 43, averaging around 30 minutes his last 3 games with no Carter Jr. Gafford gets some time. But 5,800 on FanDuel. Love that price tag on him. 5,900 on DraftKings with the way he's been playing is great. It's just, he's been almost stinking averaging a triple-double the last 3 games. 13, 8, and 8, 8, 11, 11, 16, 9, and 9. Again, against the Knicks, no problem playing it here. I might shove him in this lineup real quick here, honestly. I mean, it's priced up. I think Lowry's in play here, but I'm gonna throw Young in this lineup. Why not? Again, the way he's been playing off the bench lately, we still have the same injuries. Right a hot hand like that. Let's head on over to the Clippers at Cleveland here. Patrick Beverley's still out for the Clippers. And over on Cleveland, Drummond is questionable. Larry Nance Jr. and Love are still out. They've been Love has been out basically the whole stinking year. No total on this game. Clippers played last night. Great game against Washington. Hope you watched that. That was a lot of fun. I'm sorry, Washington against Brooklyn. A lot of fun. So don't have anyone besides Beverly out. No total in this game. I bet Vegas is kind of waiting what they're going to do. The Clippers have been notorious for sitting guys out, and they're playing Cleveland. So maybe they think they can steal a game. It's back-to-back 3 and 4 for them. Wouldn't surprise me if we get Kawhi sitting out or Paul George or somebody like that. So we got to take that in consideration. Kawhi Leonard, 9K, though, on DraftKings, 9,400 on FanDuel. Paul George, 8,700 on DraftKings, 8,400 on FanDuel. I think this is a wait and see. If one of these guys come up questionable later in the day, I think it's plug in the guy that's going to play here. The price tags are just too cheap, and it's Cleveland, and they should be able to roll, do whatever they want here. Nicholas Batum, 5,200 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DraftKings. Another guy that I like if we do have anyone sit. If they all play, I think you can consider those guys. Reggie Jackson, 5,400 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel. A guy I love if one of those big 2 sit. I don't know. Gut call, I feel like one of these guys is going to sit. It just seems like the Clippers, this is what they do. I know Doc Rivers is out of town and it's not his team anymore, and Kawhi's talked about not doing that as much this year and taking it more serious, which is kind of weird. But we'll have to see what's going on with him. Like I said, I think you can play any of these guys up against Cleveland, but I think we need a bit more news before we get too excited to play any of these Cleveland guys. So, again, one of the big guys is out. You just plug in the other one in your lineups. Let's head on over to the Cleveland side real quick. And again, we saw this a couple games ago. If Drummond is out, we are going to want some Jared Allen in our life. 7K on FanDuel is priced up. 6,500 on DraftKings. With no Love, no Nance. If Drummond is out, he's just going to play a ton of minutes. Saw 35, put up 23 and 18 with 5 blocks, 58 DraftKings points. We had him as a lock button over at DFSArmy. He was popular, but he's still only around 60%. And on big slates like this, they're never owned enough. So he's another guy that I would just go back and hit the lock button on if Drummond was out, even at that price tag. We've seen massive games out of him before. He's still underpriced if Drummond is out. If Drummond plays, I think Drummond's going to see some good minutes because they don't really have many bigs. Like Chetty Osman can play the 4, but Stevens can play the 4, but they really don't have anybody. So if Drummond plays, 8,800 on FanDuel, 8,400 on DraftKings, I have some interest there for sure. And so, again, it's one of these situations where there could be some good plays in this game, but we really need this injury news to fold out. And this game starts 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I think we'll have something a little bit later in the day. I think when those reports come out after lunch, we'll have something here. But if Drummond is out, Garland at 5,800 on FanDuel, 1,500 on DraftKings. Love him. The usage is going to be massive. Put up 40 spot against Minnesota. Again, they're a horrible team. Clippers are a way better team than that. But he should play a lot of minutes. And again, he's been really good when these guys are out. So I would consider him on both sides. No problem playing him if Drummond is out. Chetty Osman at 5K, 4,500. I have a hard time getting too excited about him because I think with Taurean Prince in town, 5,400 on DraftKings, 4,900 on FanDuel over here. He's a guy that's just stealing some minutes here. Played 32 minutes last game, put up 30 fantasy points. So he's a guy we can consider as well. So I think we have a lot of plays here. Sexton, 6,800 on FanDuel, 6,900 on DraftKings is in play as well. But we got to have some injury news. Like it's without it, we can't really make a good decision on who we're going to play. But I will say this, if Drummond is out, regardless of what the Clippers do, Jared Allen's probably going to be a lock play for me at 35 minutes, 1.17 fantasy points per minute for the season. They won't have any other bigs, man. He's going to have to play minutes regardless. So I do like Allen if Drummond is out. And they said if Drummond does play and maybe the Clips rest a guy, I have some interest there as well because he's going to get a lot of rebounds and putbacks. So, should be a fun game. I like this one, but just needs a little bit more context and injury news. Let's head on over to Washington at Miami. Washington's on a back-to-back here, so we probably will not see Russell Westbrook at all. He doesn't play back-to-backs yet so far this season, so I'm just going to slide Beal in this lineup. I mean, it is what happens. I know they're playing Miami, and Miami's a good defensive team with Butler coming back. But on the injury news on Miami and Washington, we don't have a total here. I think it's, again, Westbrook is doubtful, but I don't see Westbrook playing at all again back-to-back here. Neto is out. Harkless is out for Miami. Hero, Vincent, Bradley, and Dragic are all probable here. So Miami should have their full cast of characters back, and they need them because they've been on the struggle bus here for a while. So having their full cast helps. But again, Bradley should have all the usage in the world with no Westbrook. So I'm going to throw him in here lineup. 9,700 on DraftKings, too cheap for all the shots he's going to get. He's 10-8 on FanDuel, but the man shot 37 times the last time in a back-to-back against the Pelicans. He's going to shoot at least 20 times, probably 30 here. Now he does have some guys back that are going to shoot the ball that they love to shoot him, like Bertans. The man has not seen the three-pointer he does not like. 4,300 on FanDuel, 5K on DraftKings. He's a guy you can definitely consider because he can get hot, but he can also do this to you like last game against Portland. Shot 2 for 10, 20% from three-point line. That's all he does, though. Look, 2 for 10. All of them are threes. But when he gets hot, he can crush. So I like him on both sides here in tournaments. Garrison Matthews, 4,400 on FanDuel. He is priced way down here to 3,300 on DraftKings. A guy that we can consider. We can see on these back-to-backs we saw at the Pelicans, saw 28 minutes, put up 27 fantasy points. I think he's too cheap here with no Westbrook. We got Neto out, so I'm going to throw him in this lineup here real quick just because he's super cheap. And we should have no Westbrook here, so, he's going to play some minutes. Ish Smith, 4,800 on DraftKings, 4,600 on FanDuel. Love some Ish Smith here. He's probably going to be a core play for me on FanDuel. Again, no Westbrook here. 25 and 32 fantasy points over his last two. Again, with no Westbrook, he's going to get a lot of usage here. So actually, I'm going to shove him in this lineup as well. And maybe we'll make a decision here where we don't want one of these cats. We'll take out Gordon Hayward in this lineup. But Ish Smith, I don't mind playing three of these cats, man. They're all too cheap. Smith, Matthews, I'm not super excited about. with Smith back, but he's still going to play a lot of minutes. And we got to talk about Rui, man. Rui, 5,400 on FanDuel, 4,700 on DraftKings. I'm sorry, 54 on DraftKings, 47 on FanDuel, 34 fantasy points against Portland. He's going to be a guy that's going to get a little bit more usage as well with no Westbrook out there. I know it's not a great matchup against Miami, but all these guys are priced down because it's basically Westbrook and Beal. So consider that when you're making your lineups. But Ish Smith, man, I think he's my favorite so far on DraftKings and FanDuel. I mean, that's just too cheap looking at the situation there for both of them. So really hard not to like that tag. So Bradley Beal and Ish Smith are my guys. And Garrison Matthews is too cheap. So I don't mind running all three of these guys in this lineup. They're going to be sitting in this lineup for me as I go on here. Let's head on over to the Miami side. Again, all these guys are probable, so they're going to have their full allotment back. Bam Adebayo, 9,300 on FanDuel. I'm sorry, on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, he is priced at 9,100. I think I still prefer Randall than Bam with all the guards coming back. But again, maybe he's a great pivot off of Randall. Randall probably have a little more chalk. But again, a great matchup against Washington. They don't have anybody that can stop him. Jimmy Buckets, 8,500 on FanDuel, 8,400 on DraftKings. He's priced up to the point I don't think you have to play him, especially with all these other guards coming back. 250 spots the last 2 games since coming back, so you can consider him. But again, with Hero Dragic back, Hero 6,800 on DraftKings, 6K on FanDuel. I like that price on FanDuel. Dragic 6,100 on DraftKings, 5,800 on FanDuel. I like that tag on him as well, going up here against Washington. Washington's a bad team, so I think you can play any a number of these guys. I would lean more towards Dragic and Hero at price point per dollar, but Butler and Bam are in play as well against Washington, especially if this game stays close. And I don't think you have to run a Miami back when you're running these guys on the Washington side, because you're getting Ish Smith and Garrison Matthews for so cheap that the only really expensive guy you're playing is Beal, and he's going to have all the usage. So I don't think you have to run it back, but if you were, I would say Dragic, Hero, Butler, and Bam are the guys you're looking at. I wouldn't really look at any of these other guys on a slate this large. Let's move on to the next game here. We have 4 games left. Houston at OKC. This game is a 221.5 over under. Houston favored by 6.5. No David Nwaba. John Wall is out, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is out. So this game is going to have some fantasy goodness in it. We're going to have to move some things around here. No John Wall. Christian Wood, 8,600 on DraftKings, 8,900 on FanDuel. He's going to have a ton of usage with no John Wall. It's basically going to be Wood, Nolan Depot here. We could see a few more shots, too, out of Eric Gordon. He could probably step in there and do a little bit as well. So those are the guys I'm going to focus on the most. Depot at 7,800 on DraftKings, 8,200 on FanDuel. Wood's been a 1.34 fantasy points per minute. We should see mid-30s minutes in him. OKC, I'm not worried about them at all. Eric Gordon, 4,900 on DraftKings, 5,400 on FanDuel. I'm sorry, 4,900 on FanDuel, 5,400 on DraftKings. Put up 30 spot here against OKC in just 22 minutes. He should see more minutes here. He should see minutes into the 30s. And with no John Wall, maybe we see a few more shots here. So he is interesting to me. But again, Depot, Wood, I would strongly consider putting one of these guys in your lineup here. We have Randall here. I don't mind running Wood. The one thing about Wood is he is a center, so he kind of changes some things up a little bit here. So maybe we want to look here and be like, hey, let's take out Thad Young and let's move in Depot here. Like, you can go different ways. We'll throw Depot in this lineup here. I'm going to come back out here and put him out. I'm going to put Thad Young at my forward spot just because I like me some Thad Young. They don't leave us a whole lot of meat left on the bone there, but hey, we're just building a little fun lineup. It's not the lineup that I'll be using. Again, it's Wood, it's Depot, it's Eric Gordon for me, and that's about it from this team. Not going to get too crazy. Those are the guys to play. On the OKC side, no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, so we're going to have some chalk plays on here with him. Theo Maledon's going to see a ton of minutes. The kid's fun to watch anyways. He's 4,800 on FanDuel. He's 4,300 on DraftKings. You have to find a way to get this guy in your lineups at price here. So Depot might not even make it here. We're going to have to throw Theo in. A lot of guards here. Again, with Ish, Maladon, Garrison Matthews, all cheap. Again, this is where these big slates lead to stars and scrubs, just because of, you get guys sitting, you get value. I can tell you right now, he's going to be a core play on both sides. Just the minutes he's going to see with no Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, no problem playing him there. Dort's going to see a few more shots here. Never really like playing Dort, but at 4,400 on DraftKings, 4,400 on FanDuel, I don't mind playing some Dort. He's going to shoot the rock a little bit more. So Shea just eats up so much usage that it's got to be spread around to these guys. So I would look there. Diallo at 4,300 on FanDuel, 4,500 on DraftKings. You're going to see a lot more usage and play out of him as well. So I like some Diallo at 4,500. No problem playing him alongside Maladon as well. I think they're cheap enough that you can play him. So lots of value here. On FanDuel, the most expensive guy on this team right now that's playing is Al Horford at 6,500. Everyone else is cheaper than that. So you have all the value on FanDuel at OKC. And they got 107 implied team total. They're going to have to score points. So Baisley's in play. He's going to shoot a little bit more. No Shea, 5,200 on DraftKings, 5,100 on FanDuel. I think he's squarely in play here as well. You can look at playing Al Horford. He's going to shoot, a few more shots. 6K on DraftKings, 6,500 on FanDuel, knowing that I'm like screaming to play because I'm looking more of the guards, So for me, it's Maladon and Diallo is the guys I'm really looking at. We might have a sneaky play, and Justin Jackson might play a few more minutes here. He's 3K, 11 minutes, put up 15 fantasy points. He's a guy that if you're just looking to complete GPP punt, then maybe see mid 20s minutes. But again, focus on the guards here. But you're going to want a couple people from this OKC team in your lineup at price and the minutes they're going to play. So when you're building lineups, consider using a few of those guys. So OKC's Washington cheap guys seem to be where the cheap value is going to land tonight as we go through this. Let's head on to the next game here. Minnesota at the Spurs, 224 over under. Spurs favored by 8. Looks like Hernan Gomez is questionable. Culver and Towns are still out. Reed is probable. Russell is questionable. And LMA is out. On the Minnesota side, with Reed being probable, 5,800 on DraftKings. Over here on FanDuel, we have him at 6,300. I don't like that price tag at all. So I'm not really going to look there. But again, against the Spurs, maybe Vanderbilt is a better play at 5,500 on both sides. It's one of those things, though, I can't trust what Saunders is going to do. The minutes are just everyone seems to play 20 minutes on this team. It's just a horrendous team for daily fantasy. If D-Russ is out, though, Malik Beasley at 6,500 on DraftKings, or FanDuel, 6,400 on DraftKings. I have some interest here if we don't have no Russell, as his shots will creep up to 18 or 20 shots on this team. And then Anthony Edwards at 5,100 on FanDuel, 5,400 on DraftKings. He's got a couple big games in him, 41 and 40 in 2 of his last 4, but he does have a 22 and 25 in there as well. So a tournament play only here. But if Russell is out, he's a guy that we can look at and is basically playing the most minutes on the team behind Russell. So Russell's out, Beasley and Edwards. If Russell's in, probably just Russell only for me. So we just have to wait and see on the Russell news for this game here. Over on the Spurs side, again, no LMA. So that's going to open up some minutes in this front court for the Spurs. So we're going to get minutes. Rudy Gay at 3,900 on FanDuel, 4K on DraftKings. Pretty cheap tag on him. If he sniffs 24 minutes, he might be able to sneak you into something fun. Again, it's still the Spurs. Pop can play anyone he wants to. Derek White is back, so it kind of screws up the guard rotation with DeRozan, Murray, Patty Mills, Walker. They get a lot of guards. We should see Jakob Poeltl. He is 4,800 on FanDuel, 4,600 on DraftKings. I would assume he'd get the start here. But again, they can still play Trey Lyles. He's 3,500 on FanDuel. He's 3K on DraftKings. He's always a fun guy to play. I love playing him, but he just doesn't get minutes. That's the rough part. So Minnesota's a horrible team. So I figure somebody from the Spurs is going to do well. That's the troubling point. They got a 115 implied team total here. DeJounte Murray at 6,900 on FanDuel, 6,400 on DraftKings. He should be able to slice up this team. DeMar DeRozan, 7,200 on DraftKings, 6,900 on DraftKings. I'm sorry, 6,900 DraftKings, 7,200 on FanDuel. I don't mind sliding him right into this. He could play some power forward too. Sliding him right into this lineup is kind of fun. You can do a lot with this here. I don't mind this lineup at all, honestly. It's kind of a decent little lineup we got built here. But I'm going to take him out. But that's where I have no problem playing him in a lineup like that at all. I wouldn't get crazy with your Spurs, but if I had to rank them, I think it's DeRozan, Murray, Jakob Poeltl, Rudy Gay. And I'm not excited about any of them, but maybe one of the guards. I think Murray and DeRozan are the ones that probably get there more times than not. So look at those guys if we're looking for some Spurs. Let's head on over to Phoenix at the Pelicans. We have a 222.5 over under. Phoenix favored by 3. Looks like Saric is still out. Cameron Payne is still out. Booker is probable. And then on the Pelicans, Steven Adams is questionable. Well, on the Phoenix side, I can tell you right now, with Booker probable, I can't pay that price for Chris Paul at 8,300. I just can't do it. He's going to take some shots away from him. So even though the matchup's great, I can't get excited about that price. 8K on FanDuel, 8,300 on DraftKings. I don't think the usage is going to be there with him coming back. So it kind of screws up the whole team, honestly. Jay Crowder, on a 10-game slate, honestly, I really don't want any part of this, even though the matchup's good. It's only 112 implied team total here, which is kind of odd. But, yeah, really hard to trust these guys, man. Booker just throws a wrench in everything. If we didn't have Booker, I love some Chris Paul. He's played for the Pelicans many moons ago. But at price, I don't like any of these guys. Ayton, you could take a chance on if we don't have any Steven Adams at 7,400 on DraftKings. I like that price tag on DraftKings. FanDuel, 8,200. I don't think you need to go there. I think you're going to go down at center a little bit. So I'm just going to skip over this team. I don't like them too much. Even going against the Pelicans with Booker back, just not excited about it. And again, over here on the Pelicans side, again, we have to wait on Steven Adams. If he sits, we're probably going to get Jackson Hayes starting again, which not super excited about it. But if Adams plays, though, at 5,100 on FanDuel, he is 5,400 on DraftKings. I think he's in play. I'd rather play Zeller, I think. But maybe people will go to Zeller, and he's a great pivot off of him because, Ayton does not play defense at all, so I don't mind him. Zion, 8K on DraftKings, 8,300 on FanDuel. Again, hard to get excited about it. Lonzo Ball, 6,200 on FanDuel, 5,700 DraftKings. He's kind of on the trading block right now, so I think he's got something to play for. So I do like him at that price. I like him on both sides here. And then Bledsoe at 5,600 on FanDuel, way too cheap. 5,900 on DraftKings. And don't play JJ Redick, like I said. He's on the trading block as well. He probably played no minutes at all. And that's really it. I mean, again, for a matchup I think would be better when you got guys fully healthy. It's really hard to love these guys. So I'm not going to get too excited about it. And I don't think you need to force any of these guys in your lineup. So I think we're just going to move on here. Boston at Sacramento, nightcap, island game, 10 p.m. Kemba Walker is doubtful. Again, I figured that on a back-to-back. They played late last night. So we're not going to have Kemba Walker. Pritchard is questionable, though. He was out last game. And Langford is out for Boston. Again, no total in this game. And I figured with Boston playing a back-to-back, we wouldn't get that. So if we don't get, I don't expect Walker to play. Smart is out as well. They're going to be short some guards here. One thing I will mention, though, what was interesting, and I retweeted it. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm a Keg4540 on Twitter. I retweeted. We had one of the beat writers for Boston came out and said that during this stretch with Smart out, that they might see some Tatum running point is what Brad Stevens said. So I thought that was interesting. See some Tatum point, which is fine. He's a hell of a ball handler. It's like AD, he's very similar where he can handle the ball. So I just thought it was interesting because maybe that helps his assist and he gets a few more stats there. So again, just a little tidbit that I read yesterday, thought I'd share. Tatum 8,900 on DraftKings, 9,500 on FanDuel. Expensive, but I have no problem playing him against Sacramento, especially no Walker. Brown, same thing, 7,900 on DraftKings, 8,700 on FanDuel. They're pricey on FanDuel, but I think they're going to keep ownership down. And people are also going to look at those games last night and look at 39 fantasy points. He's like, he's not going to get there. Well, they're not going to have Kemba Walker taking a bunch of shots either. I mean, Kemba Walker took 18 shots yesterday. Those are going to have to go around to somebody. Like I said, Jeff Teague at 4,700 and 4,200 on FanDuel. He could play some point guard here. He probably starts. I don't know how many minutes he'll play, but he's a very interesting play as well at that price tag. So I have some interest in him as well. So I think it's really just Teague for me right now. I mean, Tice you can always play, Thompson you can always play, but on slate this large, Tatum and Brown are going to get all the shots, and Teague's going to be the facilitator. So maybe we don't want to look at DeRozan in this lineup, and we said, hey, we're going to play some Brown, and then we have 800. We're going to have to move around a little bit and find. So maybe we want to get off him, and we got 5,800. So there's different ways you can go around this, and we could throw in Tice in this lineup if we wanted to, up against. Maybe Tice might be playing more the 4 or 5, and maybe Tatum plays some more of the point at times. So I don't mind some Daniel Tice at all at this price tag. So we could play 2 Boston guys, Brown and Tice, and do something like this as well. So there's lots of ways you can go around it. Again, these are just, I just like to build lineups as we're going through this. It's always a good exercise when you're doing a first look, just to kind of feel out how lineup construction might look before we get injury news. It's just fun to do. So, don't ever think I'm just playing these lineups, but they are fun to do and help out. So that's where I would look. Again, Tatum, Brown, and then Teague, and then maybe some Daniel Tice, and that's about it for me. There's just so many ways that Stevens can go. He's got, Ojale, Williams, Green on the bench. There's just a lot of ways that he can go that I don't think that I'm going to focus on those guys. I'm just going to focus on the guys that are going to score the rock. Over on the Sacramento side, we, again, don't have any injury news here. De'Aaron Fox, 8,500 on DraftKings, 8,200 on FanDuel. Don't like the matchup, so hard to play him. I'll keep going back to Halliburton, man. 5,400 on DraftKings, 5,600 on FanDuel. He's still playing 30 minutes, 32, 31, 33, 30 over his last 4, 29, 29, 39, 21. Again, there's meat left on the bone at this price tag, and they've been playing him a lot. The person that it does hurt is they've been playing a lot of 4, they'll take Bagley off the court and throw him in there in that lineup. So he doesn't hurt Fox because he does come in there and plays alongside Fox and Buddy Hield a lot. So they'll run like Harrison Barnes at the 4 and run like Burton at the 3. So I like some Burton there. Bagley at 5,500. Just comes the minutes, but a tournament play. But I think Halliburton's my favorite guy of this team. Hield 6,700 on FanDuel is too expensive. 66 on DraftKings. He can get hot at any time, so you can play him in tournaments. But on a slate this large, I think I'm just looking at Halliburton. Fox is always in tournament consideration, but I only like him in pace-up matchups, and this is not one of them. So I think you just go Halliburton here and, look at some Boston guys with no Kemba Walker. So that's where I'd go. Don't get too cute on these big slates like this. Just play the good plays and build your lineup. So again, it looks like first look here. It looks like the little recap. It looks like the value is going to be in Washington with no Westbrook, and then OKC with no Maladon. I'm sorry, with no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We're going to get some Maladon and Diallo in our lives. So build around that value. That seems to be going to be the good value today. And then build around your teams like that. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this NBA first look for DFS Army. If you're not a DFS Army member, head on over there. Use promo code CashKeg. Save yourself 10%. Got a link in the description below if you want to click on it and go over there and join the team. We'll have notes up, player ranks, MME percentages for you guys at MME. I put my MME percentage in there as well. And we'll just continue to kill it. Congratulations to we had a VIP member yesterday took down a FanDuel 40K GPP win. Let me give a shout out to him. It was an absolutely master. It says Elzarl29 took down 40K in the after hours slate. So congratulations to him. Love to see big wins like that from the Army. So head on over there, sign up, and be on the lookout. I will have a props bet video again today and a prize picks video. If there's something else that you would like to see, let me know. I'm also going to be dropping I have a DraftKings Super Bowl preview that I did about a week ago. I'm also going to do a FanDuel one here as well. And I'm going to do Super Bowl prop picks as well. I'm going to do a video of that. So look out for that for the next couple days. And again, if there's a different approach you want me to take on these rundowns or something you want me to add, just drop a comment. Let me know. And hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell. And I hope that these bring you good value. And with that, hope you have a good hump day. I'm Cash Cake. Deuces.